Mental health is a life sentence without parole. Too many of us carry invisible wounds, trauma, loss, shame, and silence. I created the Crawl, Walk, Run podcast to break that silence, to give a voice to the voiceless. This is not just a show. It is a platform, a place where authors, veterans, artists, survivors, and everyday people can share their truth without fear of judgment. We crawl through the darkness. We walk toward healing, and we run into purpose. Together, we will build this community. This podcast is about resilience, about stories that matter, and about reminding the world that your voice could save someone's life. I'm your host, Steve-O, and this is Crawl, Walk, Run.
We were trained to endure, to adapt, to overcome, but nobody prepared us for what comes after the uniform comes off. This season, we're pulling the curtain back on a system veterans are forced to survive, not just serve. From suicides happening at VA hospitals, to mental health care that falls short, to growing fears about disability compensation ratings and cost-cutting. We're asking the questions no one wants answered. Why are veterans still fighting for care? Who's really being protected? And who's being left behind? And what happens when silence costs lives? This isn't politics. This isn't opinions. This is lived experience. Season 3 of Crawl, Walk, Run, where we stop whispering, start questioning, and refuse to stay silent. Because the mission doesn't end at discharge.
Tracy is the host of Trauma Rockstars podcast, where she shares powerful stories of resilience and healing. Her passion for her work comes from her own journey, overcoming a horrible accident at the age of 12, where she suffered severe burns, being the only survivor of this terrible incident. Tracy was drugged and sexually assaulted at the age of 15 while attending a high school party. Her trauma has reshaped her and the growth that came from it. She has gone from survivor to storyteller, creating a platform that gives others the courage to speak their truth. Her personal story of overcoming adversity. This is why she started her podcast, Trauma Rockstars Podcast. She has grown personally and professionally through it. She is here today to provide insight for others facing their own challenges and personal traumas. She feels with this global message of her voice through her podcast, if she can reach one person and eliminate or inspire others, it will make the world a better place. Tracy has held in her silence too long and wants to coach, teach, and mentor parents, young girls, and women about her pain that she endured. Because healing takes courage, you are stronger than you know. Her podcast streams on Amazon, Apple, YouTube, Facebook, and other streaming platforms. Let's welcome Tracy.
Got to add myself to the stage, right? Nice. Okay. Hey, I am Steve-O. I go by 1821 Production, Voice of the Voiceless, and I have a really good guest today. Her name is Tracy, and she has a really good podcast. She's the host of the Trauma Rockstar podcast. And this is season 3, episode 1. Happy New Year. And let's not delay. Let me bring in my guest here, Tracy. How are you?
Hi, Steve-O. I'm well. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for coming on board. So let me get this here. Get you up there. So I always ask my guests a few questions before they start with their story or what their trauma is. So, let me go here. right. So you're under the bulb. What to you is crawl, walk, run?
I was going to comment on the name and the voice of the voiceless. I love that. And to me, I was thinking about that when it flashed in front of me when you were doing the intro. And, I think some days you wake up and you feel like you're crawling. Some days you wake up and you're just walking, just a normal day. And then some days you're just running, whether you're running because you're excited or you're running for your life, you're just trying to survive. And I think that those are baby steps into getting to the next level of your healing journey. You can't walk if you can't crawl, you can't run if you can't walk. So to me, those are really powerful words. And in my own journey, I was crawling and maybe walking a little bit for 40 years before I faced my trauma. And the past 5 years have been really exceptional for me as far as getting past my healing journey. And now I am like on a sprint. I've gone from a run to a sprint with my healing journey, and it's been really profound. And I know there's so many people out there struggling. And so I just want to provide hope for them that it is a scary journey. And it is scary talking about these things, but it's so exciting to get on the other side of it and to be at peace with everything. And I think especially you work so much with veterans, which is so needed. And I feel like we can run, but then we can get to a sprint, and it's so exciting.
So, what is trauma to you? And if you don't have trauma, what do you do to help other people with trauma?
So I think everybody has experienced trauma in their life, and there's different degrees of trauma, but there's not one size fits all. If you've been through, somebody might be listening to my story and be like, oh, well, I haven't been through what she's been through. It doesn't matter. It matters how you heal from whatever it is. And I'm sure you have as well, Steve-O. I've had unbelievable guests on my show that have been so inspiring, and their trauma is 10 times worse than mine. They've been through so much worse than I have. There's no measurement for trauma. And I think if you're struggling with anything, or if you have struggled with anything, that's trauma. And if somebody says, I haven't been through trauma, well, look at what happened in 2020. We had a pandemic, so that was trauma to the world. But everybody's been through it. And I think that whether people have just gotten past it easily, or if it's a constant everyday struggle, it's okay. Like there's no right or wrong dealing with trauma. It could be as small as, when you're little and some kids made fun of you and you're still carrying that, or it could be as large as a major auto accident or serving in a war. The one isn't any more traumatizing than the other. It's all big.
So with trauma, of people that you work with, the people that you have on your show, mm-hmm. some of the coping mechanisms that you use to help yourself or others with trauma.
Yeah. So I can speak for myself. What I didn't deal with it. I had suppressed until literally 5 years ago, and especially the past 2 years, I suppressed it for 40 years. I did not deal with it. I found coping mechanisms. And I know one thing I've read recently that really resonated with me specifically with trauma is people that have been through trauma, they like to move a lot. They like to live in busy, loud cities. They like to really have a big, loud environment around them to mask, I guess, dealing with your trauma. And that's exactly what I did. And just to add icing to the cake, I worked in the music industry. So you can't get louder than that. And I lived in LA. I lived in New York. I lived in LA. I moved to Vegas. I lived in all these busy, loud cities. I lived this big, loud life because I wasn't aware that I needed to face my trauma and heal. Because I just, your body just shuts down, kind of, your nervous system, and you don't know what you don't know. And so now it all makes sense. Now that I've done the work that I've had to do and still doing work, it's always work every day, but now it all makes sense why I had that. And now I live like a very laid back, chill life, not unlike I did for the past, 20 years, which I think when you're dealing with trauma, I think that's one thing that you kind of need when you're dealing with healing, and especially in the early stages of it. You really need to kind of silence the world around you and really get internal and spend time internally and in a peaceful environment. At least for me, that's what worked.
Great. So I guess the floor is yours. I will let you talk about your whole journey, your podcast, and what you do. I don't know if you want me up here beside you or drop down. And
you're fine. No, you're fine. Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned in the intro, I was in a horrific auto accident when I was 12. I was the only survivor. Both my cousins didn't make it, and I was burned on 70% of my body. Not to mention, I had a major head injury. I had to learn how to read, write, walk, talk all over again, not and just dealing with the burns and all that, that went on for years. So when you're burned, you get discharged from the hospital, you're not healed. You have years and years and years of therapy, surgeries, and all that on top of everything else. So that was really trying. It basically took over my entire adolescence and my teenage years. And then when I was 15, I was in high school and I was trying to live somewhat of a normal high school life. It was still hard because I was still going through surgeries at that time. But I went to a high school party with some friends and I was drugged and gang raped. I never told a soul about that until about a year ago. I suppressed that. I mean, my accident, obviously everybody knew about because it tore my family apart. I mean, both my cousins lost their lives and it was all over the news. I mean, I still think it was the third biggest accident in the history of the state when it happened. And it was a very high profile accident. So when the assault happened, I had already had so much news and police involved in my life for my accident. And I went to a pretty high profile high school. And so when that assault happened, I didn't want to tell anybody because I knew it would be all over the news. I knew my parents would pull me out of high school. I don't know where would I have gone? I felt like I wanted just it to be over with. And I still had surgeries and healing to do for my accident. So I never told anybody about that. And I'm sure people knew. I'm sure there was talk at school, that following week or whatever about what happened. I don't know. I still don't know to this day. But that was something that I don't know. I guess a part of me doesn't have regrets for not talking about it because I understand why. It makes sense to me why I didn't want to tell anybody. But another part of me, it beats me up inside because I pray to God that didn't happen to anybody else because I didn't come forward. And the statute of limitation has run out in that state. So I can't legally do anything anyway, even if I wanted to. But I just, at that point, I let the universe and karma kind of handle things the way, it needs to handle things. But it was really traumatizing. So about 5 years ago, I'm going to just fast forward because my whole life up until my, 40s was loud. I was working, like I said, in the music industry, and I had this really big, loud life. And I started meditating 5 years ago. And when I started meditating, it was so profound. I very, very quickly, and meditation is very intimidating, and it can be very frustrating, but I very quickly started seeing benefits from it as far as my nervous system and me starting to realize like I've been living on edge for 20 years. When you go into a restaurant and you can't have your back to the door, I have to sit, with my back to the wall. I've got to be able to see around me and stuff. And that's, all trauma related, trauma response. And so when I started meditating, and I don't know, do you meditate, Steve-O?
No, but
Okay.
I do red light therapy.
Oh, do you? So when you meditate, there's a million different ways you can meditate. And again, there's no wrong or right way. What the right way is your way. So I want people to know if you're even thinking about starting to maybe do some meditation or things like that. But I started getting like literally these downloads of information, and I would do guided meditation free off of YouTube. I found a couple practitioners that I really liked, and I would have guided meditation and they would guide me. And all of a sudden I would just start getting this download of information. And I was like, holy crap, like I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot of healing to do. I've never faced my trauma. I've been living with survivor's guilt since I was 12 years old, with both my cousins dying, everything that's happened. And I just got this realization that, and it was scary because I'm like, how do I start working on getting better and healing? And how do I do it in a way that's productive, where I'm not going to be discouraged and I'm going to stay on course? And the meditation is the thing that got me started with it all. And about, I don't know, a year ago is when I first talked about my assault and about what happened, and realized like that was a really big part of my history that I needed to face and get past, even more so than the accident, ironically, because I want to, my cousins didn't die for nothing. Part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast is for them. Like I want to help other people and I want to do it through them. And, but when I was meditating, I realized like I was a hot mess. Like I was, I go back to my early 20s and my 30s, and I think about the people I had in my life, the relationships, whether it was romantic relationships or friendships that I allowed, the crap that I put up with from people, being taken advantage of, bad decisions I made financially, spiritually, mentally, just it all made sense because it was all because I was traumatized. And I was like, and I had this realization that I was like, I'm not broken. I'm dealing with trauma. And so I really started this mission. Like, I need to get past this. So a year ago, I was reading a book and I didn't know what this book was about. I went on vacation and I took a book with me, and I had heard this book was great. I didn't know anything what it was about, but it ended up being about this woman who had been sexually assaulted by a teacher in her teenage years that she trusted immensely. And this went on for a really long time, and she suppressed this trauma. But what helped her get to the other side of it is she discovered what's called MDMA therapy. Are you familiar with MDMA?
No.
Okay. It's a psychedelic. It's MDMA it's the key ingredient that's in ecstasy, but it's not the street drug. And I've never done ecstasy, so I have nothing to compare it to, but it's a microdose and it's the key ingredient that's in it. And what it does is it puts you in touch with your deep, deep, deep into your subconscious. So when I read about this in this book, I don't know what, but just a light bulb went on, and I'm like, I feel like this is the next step for me. I feel like this would work. It just made sense for me. And again, there's so many modalities out there for healing. So just because this worked for me doesn't mean it's going to work for other people. But I'm the type of person, when I started really understanding what this was, and I went down a rabbit hole and I researched for months about it, because I wasn't going to just go and say, okay, I want to do this. And I really wanted to be educated on what it was all about. And I actually found a therapy center near me here in Florida that does it. It's run by a psychiatrist, and they do all different kinds of modalities. But MDMA is one of them. So I had to go through about 2 months of talking to them, intake forms, to see if I would even qualify, and if the psychiatrist even felt that that was a right fit for me for what I was trying to do. And to make a long story short, she did. So she paired me up with one of her therapists, Allie, and I've actually had Allie on the podcast. It was one of my favorite episodes that I ever had, and we talked very openly about this whole journey. And in March, I did my MDMA treatment. So they give you a little microdose, and it's a pill, and you take it. And my session, it's guided by my therapist. So it's done in a very loving, calming environment. And it was a game changer for me. To tell you that it was a gift is an understatement. It put me so in touch with my subconscious. And I went in there, I was well aware going in there that things could come up that I didn't want to remember, from my accident. Like my cousin, my cousins died in the accident. I was assaulted. Was I going to remember any of this? So I went into the therapy session knowing this stuff might come up, but I was so positive. I just felt like this was right, and I was ready for it because I had done so much work already. So I knew that whatever came up, I could handle it. And I had complete, utter trust in my therapist. And that's, if you're even thinking about trying anything like this, or mushrooms, any type of psychedelics or anything, the biggest thing is you have got to have total trust in your therapist. And it does need to be guided with a therapist, because it's dangerous. Like, you don't want to re-traumatize yourself. So that's really, really important. I want to stress that. And so I had the most unbelievable trust in her. And it was such a beautiful, profound experience. It was over a 4-hour long session. And it didn't feel like it at the time. And I remember everything. I was very conscious of what was going on. She and I were talking a lot during the whole journey. And it was really profound, to tell you that, to come out of it, I didn't know who the hell I was at all before I went through the MDMA treatment. And now I'm totally in touch with who I am as a person, with my subconscious, and how trauma has affected my nervous system, where if I get triggered, which, I don't know if you ever fully recover from trauma. I mean, how can we? We're human, and we're going to have bad days, and I still get triggered. But I can say that now that I get triggered, I can stop and hit the pause button and be like, okay, what's going on? What's my body trying to tell me? How is this making me feel? How can I turn this into a positive? And don't get me wrong. Like, there's days that are worse there's some days I feel like I take 10 steps backwards, but then, you get past that and you're like, oh, I got past that. Now I feel like I took 20 steps forward. So it was really profound. And one thing with the MDMA that was I guess it just made the experience so beautiful, is what you're experiencing and what's coming up and what's coming out. You're looking through it from a lens of love and care. It's almost like you're your own angel or therapist. So you're looking at things through a lens of love, care, And there's no hate or regret or anything like that. You don't feel that at all. And you're not seeing purple elephants. It's not like that at all. It's you're very conscious of what's going on and what's coming out. But the irony of the whole thing, Steve-O, that was really, it's still kind of shocking to me, is that the one thing I learned is that I actually I had to forgive myself, because I look back at 20, 25 years of time that was so wasted because I wasn't dealing with my trauma. I was just floating through life. So there was a lot of time that wasted doing stupid things, not understanding who I was as a person. And I really needed to forgive myself more than anybody else. And that was the one thing I learned. And now I have this great love and respect for myself for what I've been through. And I did give myself that forgiveness that was needed. And I just had this is just one MDMA session. And when you go through trauma, what it does is it shuts off all your like serotonin and endorphins, all the happy chemicals in your body. Like trauma just shuts that off. And it's like, you don't even realize it, but it is just shut off. And what the MDMA did is it was like a light switch and it turned it all back on. And this is in May, it hasn't shut off. Like I still feel like the same I did in May. It hasn't worn off or anything. And this is just one session. It's been profound. And back in the 80s, this was illegal. And they used to do MDMA. The VA does offer it, but they used to do it a lot with people coming back from war with PTSD, complex PTSD, and things like that. And so part of my research when I was researching about it is that was a lot of the research I found on YouTube about these soldiers that came back and they're just completely broken from what they had to experience when they were at war, and what was in front of them. And they just came back completely different person, so broken. And these soldiers that went through this MDMA treatment 6 months after had no signs of PTSD. And that was diagnosed by physicians. So they stopped allowing MDMA because ecstasy became a really popular street drug in the 80s. So they were relating it to the street drug and thought it would become addictive. And so the FDA said, no, you can't do MDMA anymore. Now it's starting to Congress. People are going and lobbying at Congress, and it's starting to come back now. And like I said, the VA does offer it. But I don't know if all VAs offer it. And you, again, need to be with a specialist that specializes in it. But it's really, really profound. And if you're even interested in it all, I would encourage you to go on YouTube and look at some of because they actually have live sessions with soldiers that they do on YouTube. And these soldiers, it's completely changed their lives. And it's so like, it just makes me proud that I was a little bit a part of it. Like I can understand the whole journey that they went through doing that. So I really wanted to start the podcast. But part of me, I just wanted to wait till I had gone through my MDMA journey, because I really wanted to be able to speak of that on the podcast and have that part of me launching it. So that's when I launched it in July. And my live date was July 11th, which was the anniversary of my accident. So it was really important for me to launch July 11th, because I just wanted to put a really happy thing on that date in my life, not, just that's the accident anniversary. And it's been so profound. And the name Trauma Rockstars comes because I used to work in the music industry. So that's where I got the name from. And anybody who is struggling or has gone through trauma or is trying to heal, you're a trauma rock star, period. And that's what you are. And I also don't want to not talk about caregivers because caregivers need caring too. And caregivers have their own trauma that they're dealing with, let alone so I want to be very conscious of caregivers as well, because I feel like it's just, they go so unnoticed, and it's hard dealing with people that are dealing with trauma. We're not easy. We have a lot of issues, so I claps to them, to the people that have stuck around. And I don't know how you feel, but now that since I started this healing journey, I've kind of had to change like my circle and my environment and things like that. Cause I feel like once you start really healing, you evolve at such a rapid pace that kind of any negative things that are in your life just kind of fall off naturally. So that's one thing that's, I think, been the biggest surprise for me, is that part. And I think that's why a lot of people are scared to start maybe their healing journey, because maybe they're in a bad marriage. Maybe it's just too overwhelming to think about that. And there's kids involved and stuff like that. So or possibly losing other people in your life,
I always feel fear of retribution.
Yeah. And it's not intentional. I think, nobody is like, well, I'm going to have retribution because that person's trying to better themselves. It's not that. It's just everybody's journeys are different. And I think that, my circle has gotten very small over the past few years. And I'm very happy with that, because those are my supporters. But when people have fallen off that have been in my life too, it's also opened the door for like these other amazing people that come in my life that I never, ever, ever would have known if it wasn't for this journey. So I just want to tell people that are listening, like, yes, it's scary. It takes a lot of balls to face your fear, to face your trauma, it takes a lot of guts and bravery and stuff like that. But I can't say it enough. I promise you, the other side of it is amazing. It's unbelievable, and it's worth it, and you're worth it.
So after your accident,
mm-hmm.
where you did all this, were you on pills?
So, I went to counseling for years, and I remember at one point, I think I was in my 20s, a doctor put me on Celexa, which is an antidepressant, I guess. And I was, and I know, I don't personally, for me, feel like that helped at all. Like, I don't feel like the antidepressants or anything like that really helped me. I felt like it more just numbed me. But I know they do help a lot of people. So I'm not saying they're bad, but for me personally, I just don't feel like they worked.
Do you believe that the medication that you put in your body, it could help you, but in the long run, it causes avid effects to the body?
I'm concerned about it. I'm not a medical doctor, obviously, and I don't give medical advice, but I am concerned about it because I feel, I know people that are on antidepressants, and then they have to take a pill to go to sleep, and then they have to take another pill to stay asleep, and then they have to take another pill to wake up, and then they've got to take and it's a vicious cycle. And is your mind really clear to be facing what you need to be facing when you've got these medications in your body? But it also, for some situations and some people, is it safe to get off them too? Because I think there's a right and a wrong way. And this is where I think you need to have utter trust, like in a therapist. And I still talk to my therapist that I did my MDMA with, but it's not your typical counseling, like talk therapy. When we talk now, we do more breath work, or we meditate together, or, I dig really deep with her. It's not just talk therapy, but I am concerned that people that get dependent, and they are habit forming antidepressants as well. So I would, for me, I would love for somebody to really find a treatment center that works for them, that they could slowly wean off of it in a healthy way that isn't going to have side effects and things like that. But I think that it's possible to do your healing journey while on them too, because medically speaking, there's people that might clinically need it, because we, generational trauma, but we also inherit depression. We also inherit things like that from our, parents or whoever as well. So I just want people to just be cautious and understand, like, I'm very cautious about what I put in my body.
So, I don't know if you know this about me or not, but I was at Walter Reed for a year after my combat tour. And while I was at Walter Reed, I was on 10 different bottles of pills. I was on 48 pills a day.
Oh my God.
That cost me my marriage. That I was not intimate for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Marriage. Now I'm only on 2 bottles. And
that's amazing.
And 2 pills.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But in my book, The Broken Mirror, I wrote about coping mechanisms. Like I use like weighted blankets, ice beanie that you put on your head that freezes for headaches. I try not to take any kind of medication. Like one of my buddies got the flu right now, and he's like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "I don't know, man. Usually I do like hot honey, frozen blueberries, and pray." So, but I do THC gummies.
Me too.
Yeah, I do those before I go to sleep. But
me too.
I cut them in half.
Me too.
Because some of them are very potent. So
yeah, and I have actually that I get that through my doctor.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so
the VA doesn't do that yet. So
they do here.
You mean like THC gummies?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't know that. I had to talk to I've been with my psychiatrist since 2008.
Oh, okay. I think the only reason, and I take those to sleep, but it's not because of my trauma. It's because I'm going through menopause.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with my trauma. It's totally a different reason why I'm taking them.
Relaxes the body.
Yeah. And the hot flashes and, and that's a whole nother episode, Steve-O. But
don't drive them. Do not drive.
Oh, no, I don't. And
I can't even want my dog after I take one.
Oh, I know. It's so fun. And I just take enough to be able to go to sleep. And I do have to, and I don't, and I'm not against antidepressants. Like if you need them, you need them. I mean, I want people to know, like, there's nothing, it's okay. You can still heal. But like you said, you were taking 48 a day? That's insane. And,
I was a zombie.
Physicians are just like, they're pill pop, they're drug dealers, and not all of them. There's some good physicians out there, but they just give you a pill for everything. And the adverse effects and the addictability that a lot of them have and stuff like that. Like, think about it. Like, do I really need this?
Mm-hmm.
How did you get off 48?
It took a while.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
So lithium was the worst one, and I a double bridge, and a lot of them cause tremors, and that's how I got 100%, because I fought with the VA tooth and nail, because I was 50% service connected when I got out of Walter Reed, and it took me all the way to 2022 to get 100%. And my ex-wife was a psych nurse, so she treated me like a patient in front of my daughter. So kind of embarrassing, but I guess, after calling your family names and being mentally abusive, not physically, but mentally abusive, and then your 13-year-old daughter tells you that, you're a piece of garbage, and why do you call mom names? That's why we don't have no love together, and So I was like, you know what? After my mom died in 2014, I had to go take care of my dad.
Mm-hmm.
14, I was suicidal. Like I wanted to unalive myself. I was,
Mm-hmm.
so I went and took care of my dad. And when I wrote my first book, that's when I started talking to my therapist and told him, you know, is there any way that we could start like eliminating some things? Because like lithium is already like destroying my mouth.
Mm.
It destroys everything. So I was having kidney problems. I've known people. So the mirror and the broken mirror are both approved by the Pentagon review board because I talk about long-term medication use,
Mm-hmm.
stuff that I did when I was in Walter Reed. Like I did light therapy when I was at Walter Reed, but half the time I was so drugged up I didn't even know where I was when I was at Walter Reed. So
Do you feel all those meds that you were on contributed to you being suicidal?
I don't know. I think the suicidal piece was no intimacy for 10 years. And then
Mm.
I died in front of my daughter, and it kind of gave me a will to live.
Yeah.
My mom's gone. My dad's gone. My sister died 4 months ago.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry.
my mom and my sister both died at the age of 61.
Oh,
Yeah. And then my dad died at 84. So
61 is too
I,
young.
I have to live the best I can every day. And when I was 43, I got diagnosed with, was it diabetes.
Mm.
When I was out on the road in my RV in Florida, I beat diabetes at age 55. Now I'm 56, but I don't want to say I'm borderline, but it's you eat differently and act differently when you're in an RV out on the road compared to where I'm at now. So I'm
Yeah.
back out in April for a while. And then I think I'm going to give up that whole journey and probably move to Dominican Republic. I mean, like once my kid's out of cosmetology school, I'm bouncing. Uh,
Yeah.
last thing I wanted to say was, so you're an advocate to younger girls.
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Well, I just and it's funny because my niece is 10. She just turned 10. And even as young as her, she doesn't know my journey. I mean, she's 10 years old and everything. Obviously she knows I was in an accident and everything, but I really try to tell because especially sexual assault, so much it goes unreported because of fear, and embarrassment and people, and you're ashamed. And I try to tell like my niece and any young woman, even grown, women my age and older, even like you cannot heal if you don't speak up. And you can't and I tell my niece all the time, and my brother backs me on this. I tell her there is nobody that should ever touch you. I don't care who it is. They should. And I tell my nephew this too, because this happens to boys as well. I don't care if it's a family member. I don't care who it is. If somebody makes you uncomfortable, if somebody touches you, if anything happens that's weird, please talk to us about it. Like my brother and I say the same thing, because most people are assaulted by people they know and trust. And and I tell them all the time, I'm like, you need to. And my niece is very strong-willed, and my brother, I'm like, I'm glad she's strong-willed because nobody's ever going to take advantage of her. And so we talk very openly about this in my family, and especially, and my nephew too. I'm like, this could happen to a boy. So you need to be very careful with your coaches, your teachers, anybody that you're in front of. I don't care if it's a relative. You need to speak up. And if you're too embarrassed to tell your parents, or there's hotlines, there's people that can help you. Back in my day, I didn't really feel like there was anybody that I could lean on to help me that I could trust, and that would keep it confidential if I did confide in them. So I think it's really important that people find that person, and it could be a total stranger. And that's why they have these hotlines and outreach programs. And podcasts like mine and yours that are available now where you can find your people that can help support you. But I just want young women to know, like, love your body. Nobody else should be touching you. Nobody should be peer pressuring you. You shouldn't, and be very careful now when you go to even if it's a slumber party at one of your girlfriends, be very, very careful what you're drinking. Make sure you're in a trusted environment. I just had somebody on the show that I interviewed yesterday, and she ended up getting assaulted at a slumber party by her friend's father. Wow. And she woke up to this with his finger over his mouth, and he completely intimidated her, and she ended up getting assaulted. And I just interviewed her yesterday, and this could happen to anybody. So I just want young women, any woman, just to be very conscious. Like, even me, when I go out, like, I do not, like, if I have a drink, I'm like this, you can't trust people. And nowadays there's fentanyl and all kinds of worse stuff that could just kill you. Mm-hmm. So just be very conscious of your environment, and have your tribe of people that you trust. And if you don't have anybody in your life that you could trust, there is somebody out there that you could find. There is somebody that you can find that can do that. And it could be a complete stranger like myself, but there's somebody there that can help you.
So we're definitely over 30 minutes, but this has been a heck of an interview. So we're going to leave this on a positive note.
Yeah.
I'm going to take us to this right here. This is our episode 1, season 3. So plans for New Year's or a resolution?
So it's funny you ask that. I don't do New Year's resolutions anymore. I do New Year's intentions now.
Okay.
So mine for 2026, because part of this whole journey of mine with meditation and everything is I started journaling, and I'm terrible at it. I'm a terrible journaler, but I've gotten so much better the past year with it. But my goal is to journal every day. So that's my New Year's intention. And so that's I'm going to just kind of keep it. I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself. I'm just going to keep growing and evolving and getting to know myself the best I can. And, just try and get even one sentence in that journal every single day.
And you wrote a book, didn't you?
No, I am 2026. Oh, that's another big goal. I am going to be writing one for 2026 on my journey. It's going to be a different spin on what had happened. It's going to be a little fiction mixed with nonfiction. But yes, I will be starting that. I'm actually working with a publicist, so I'm going to be starting that hopefully next month.
Great. So, in closing, do you have a message for anyone for the new year or for your podcast?
Yeah, reach out. People like us, that we do this because we want to help people. And if you're even starting to think about maybe beginning your healing journey, no matter what stage you're in on it, just keep at it. It's not easy, but you owe yourself that, because nobody's taking care of you but you. So you can do it. And, everybody knows how brave you are. Just taken that little leap, and it could be as simple as just starting to journal. It could be the easiest step, and don't let it be overwhelming. Just take it one day at a time.
So I do audio monologues. I used to write, but I can't write no more because of the tremors in my hands. So my last 2 books, The Broken Mirror and No Filter, were done just speaking to my phone and having the notes come out, or doing something around the house, having my phone on play and the words coming out. And then I took everything and sent it to my buddy who writes for the Gettysburg Battlefield. So,
oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So when you write for a battlefield, you have to edit it perfect. So,
yeah.
So, but, so I thank you very much for coming on the show. I'm going to drop you down, but I'm just going to do my closing right here. So I haven't closed my show with 22 a day in a while. 22 veterans, their family members, and their spouses and children also commit suicide on a daily basis. So we just can't forget the veterans, because like your boyfriend is a veteran and he served. And it doesn't mean that the veteran's going through it, but like the veteran could cause mental and physical abuse to the family member, and that family member could commit suicide.
Yeah.
So we have to watch that too, because I always see, hey, there's 22 veterans a day, but there's also the family members, just like my daughter. You know, I have my daughter that I have to worry about. So
Right.
I'm going to close my show at 22 a day, and then just stay. I'll put you in the studio until recording is completed, and then I'll send you the link. And this is going to stream. So the next Wednesday.
Okay. So you'll just send it to me, the link?
Is it the 3rd? No, the 4th, the 6th. The 6th it will stream, but I'll give it to you ahead.
Yeah.
You can use the bio trailer for like any public engagements or anything. So
okay. Well, I want to thank you for your service too.
I appreciate it. So I'm going to drop you down, Tracy.
Take care. Thank you so much.
So I am Steve-O, 1821 Productions, Voice of the Voiceless, and this has been Season 3, Episode 1, Trauma Rock Stars with Tracy. Hell of a guest. And if you want to be on her podcast, I'll put the link in the description. And if you want to be on my podcast, reach out. Love, peace, and joy. And always remember, 22 veterans a day. Let me find it here. Okay, let me get out of here.
Every day, 22 veterans and their loved ones lose their lives to the battle within, a fight invisible but deadly. For those who face the horrors of war and the isolation of coming home, this book is more than words. It's a lifeline, a tool to navigate the darkest moments. Author William A. Stevens Jr. opens Pandora's box, exposing the harsh truth of trauma, healing, and redemption. This is also a father's apology, a heartfelt letter to his daughter, a two-time world champion, for the moments lost while trapped in his own pain. Stevens is the voice for those who feel voiceless, writing to inspire, to heal, and to give hope that change is possible. Join him on this journey of survival, forgiveness, and finding peace. The Broken Mirror, available now on Amazon.
Crawl, walk, run has been brought to you by 1821 Productions, Voice of the Voiceless. If you have a story, please reach out. We are the voice of the unheard. Till next time.